What if the dead could speak, and someone could hear them? Imagine hearing the whispers of the dead, voices no one else can hear, secrets no one else can know. Tyler Henry does it every day. Millions have watched him deliver messages that defy explanation. Moments so raw, they leave even the most skeptical weeping. But what happens when the gift that heals others starts to destroy the very person carrying it? What darkness has haunted Tyler behind the cameras and lights? And how far can one young man push himself before the weight of two worlds finally breaks him? Let me take you back to when Tyler Henry was just 10 years old. The dark secret nobody knew, the one that shattered everything Tyler believed about himself and his abilities. During the filming of his Netflix series Life After Death, a simple DNA test was taken. It seemed harmless enough, a modern curiosity that millions of people pursue every year, hoping to learn about their ancestry and heritage. But for Tyler's family, the results would unravel a mystery so dark that even a man who communicates with the dead could not have sensed it coming. The woman who raised Tyler's mother, the grandmother figure woven into the fabric of his entire family history, the person whose presence had been constant throughout his whole life. She was not related to them at all. She was a complete stranger, and not just any stranger. She had a deeply troubled past, involving serious criminal convictions. A history so disturbing, it had been hidden from the family for decades. The revelation hit like an earthquake that refused to stop shaking. Tyler, who could feel the presence of strangers' loved ones within minutes of meeting them, who could sense bloodlines and family connections with uncanny accuracy, who had built his entire career on seeing what others could not see, had never once felt anything from this woman. He had spent his whole life around her. He had trusted her. He had accepted her as family. And he had sensed absolutely nothing. The revelation hit like an earthquake that refused to stop shaking. Tyler, who could feel the presence of strangers' loved ones within minutes of meeting them, who could sense bloodlines and family connections with uncanny accuracy, who had built his entire career on seeing what others could not see, had never once felt anything from this woman. He had spent his whole life around her. He had trusted her. He had accepted her as family. And he had sensed absolutely nothing. He had always assumed the emptiness he felt around her was his own failure, a blind spot in his abilities, a limitation he needed to work on. Now he understood the terrible truth. There was no connection to feel, because there had never been any connection. She was not family. She had never been family. The entire foundation of what he believed about his own bloodline was built on a lie so complete it had fooled even him. The irony was brutal and inescapable. He could locate the spirits of people he had never met. He could trace threads of grief across decades and generations for complete strangers. He could deliver messages from the dead with specific details that left people sobbing with relief. But he could not solve the mystery buried in his own bloodline. He could not find the real grandmother whose existence had been hidden from him his entire life. She remained a ghost without a trace, and all his gifts could not summon her. For the first time, Tyler was forced to confront a terrifying possibility. If his gift could not protect him from the darkness in his own family, what else had it missed? How many truths had been hiding in plain sight while he was busy seeing into other people's lives? How could he trust what he sensed from strangers when he could not even sense what was wrong in his own home? This discovery did not just shake his confidence. It shattered the entire narrative he had built about himself. He was supposed to be the one who brought clarity to confusion. He was supposed to be the bridge between the known and unknown. But his own history had been a locked room with no windows, and he had walked past it every single day without sensing what was waiting inside. But to truly understand how devastating this revelation was, you need to understand where Tyler came from. You need to know the boy before the fame, the child who carried a secret so heavy it nearly crushed him before the world ever learned his name. A boy born between worlds. Tyler Henry came into this world fighting for his life. Born 3 months premature in California's San Joaquin Valley, his first breath was a battle that left invisible scars on his body, vulnerabilities woven into his very existence. Doctors warned his parents of complications to come. Those warnings would prove devastatingly accurate in ways nobody could have predicted. The San Joaquin Valley was farmland, stretching in every direction, a tight-knit community where everyone attended the same church. Everyone knew everyone's business, and anything different was viewed with deep suspicion. This was where Tyler grew up. This was where his nightmare began. He was just 10 years old when it happened. Sitting with his grandmother one ordinary afternoon, she was alive. She was smiling. She was completely unaware of what her grandson was suddenly feeling. Because in that moment, without warning, without explanation, Tyler felt something wash over him that no child should ever have to experience. A certainty, a knowing, a cold, undeniable awareness that her time on this earth was almost over. He did not hear a voice. He did not see a vision. He simply knew, the way you know your own name, that she was going to die. And soon, he did not tell anyone. How could he? What words could a 10-year-old possibly use to explain something like that? So, he carried it alone. This impossible weight pressing down on his small shoulders, hoping desperately that he was wrong, praying that whatever had just happened was his imagination playing cruel tricks. But when the news came, when his grandmother passed exactly as he had sensed she would, the ground beneath Tyler Henry's feet cracked open, and it would never be solid again. That moment did not feel like a gift. It felt like a curse. It felt like something had invaded his mind. Something that did not belong there. Something that knew things no human being should know. And the worst part was this. Once that door opened, it could never be closed again. Growing up, invisible. From that day forward, Tyler existed between two worlds. One was the visible world everyone else lived in, the world of homework and friendships and ordinary childhood concerns. The other was something darker, something heavier, something only he could sense. A constant hum of presences and impressions that followed him everywhere like shadows refusing to leave. Imagine being 11 years old and feeling the weight of strangers' grief without knowing why. Imagine walking into a room and sensing histories, losses, secrets that had nothing to do with you but somehow became yours to carry. Imagine trying to be a normal kid while something invisible kept pulling at you, demanding to be heard, refusing to let you rest. The other children did not understand him. How could they? He was different in ways he could not explain and they could not see. The bullying was not always violent. Sometimes the cruelest thing was simply being ignored, being pushed to the edges of every group, being looked at like something was wrong with you, something broken, something dangerous, something to be avoided at all costs. Tyler learned very young what it meant to be completely alone in a crowded room. He learned what it felt like to carry a secret so heavy that sharing it seemed impossible, but keeping it felt like drowning. And then there was the religious community around him. In San Joaquin Valley, faith was everything. The lines between good and evil were drawn in permanent ink, and everyone knew which side they were supposed to stand on. But Tyler's abilities created chaos in those clean categories. Some whispered that he was touched by something holy. blessed with a gift from above. Others whispered that he was touched by something much darker, that the things he sensed came from places no good Christian should ever go. For a teenager desperate to belong, desperate to understand himself. Was he blessed, or was he broken? Was this ability something to embrace, or something to fear? Nobody could give him an answer, and the silence of not knowing ate away at him year after year, leaving scars that would take decades to heal. Middle school was brutal in its quiet cruelty. He was not shoved into lockers or beaten in bathrooms. He was simply erased, ignored, treated like he did not exist. The silence was worse than violence, because at least violence acknowledges that you are there. The silence told him he was nothing. Nobody. A ghost walking among the living who could not even see him. High school offered no relief. He walked through hallways feeling things no teenager should feel, sensing things no teenager should sense, carrying an invisible weight that grew heavier with every passing day. He had no mentor. He had no guide. He had no one who could explain what was happening inside his mind or teach him how to control it. He was completely alone, navigating a maze that had no map, and the loneliness carved itself into his soul in ways that would take years to heal. From curse to calling. But here is where the story begins to turn. Because the same sensitivity that isolated Tyler as a child would eventually become the very thing that connected him to the world. As he moved into young adulthood, Tyler began to understand something crucial: the feelings that overwhelmed him, the impressions that invaded his thoughts, the presences that seemed to follow him everywhere. They were not random. They were messages, and those messages were meant for people who desperately needed to hear them. He started small. Readings for friends, quiet sessions where he would close his eyes, breathe deeply, and allow the impressions to come. And something remarkable happened. The people sitting across from him, people carrying grief they thought would crush them forever, began to find peace. Tyler was not performing tricks. He was not making vague guesses. He was delivering specific details, names, memories, final words that only the departed could have known. He was building a bridge between the living and the dead, and people started crossing it in droves. Word spread, first through his town, then through neighboring towns, then across state lines. There was a young man, soft-spoken and sincere, who could touch the edge of grief and return with something healing. His waiting list grew, his reputation grew, and eventually, the thing that always happens when something genuine emerges in this world happened to Tyler Henry. Hollywood noticed. Producers did not see a medium when they looked at Tyler. They saw something far more rare. A young man in his early 20s, with a gentleness that cut through every cynical defense Hollywood had ever constructed. A presence so authentic, so completely devoid of ego or performance, that even the most guarded celebrities could not help but open up in his company. In an industry built on illusion and image management, Tyler was something almost extinct. He was real. When they put a camera in front of him, magic happened. Not the theatrical kind with smoke and mirrors. The real kind, the kind that makes people watching at home put down their phones and lean closer to the screen because they cannot believe what they are witnessing. Hollywood Medium, with Tyler Henry, became a phenomenon nobody in television had predicted. Week after week, millions watched as some of the most famous faces in the world sat across from this unassuming young man and completely fell apart. Actors who had spent their careers mastering composure wept openly. Singers who performed for stadiums could barely whisper. Celebrities who had built walls around their private pain found those walls crumbling in minutes. Because Tyler was not telling them what they wanted to hear, he was telling them what they needed to know. Messages from parents lost too soon. Final words from friends who died before goodbye could be said. Secrets carried for decades finally brought into light. The show did not make Tyler a celebrity in the traditional sense. It made him something more powerful, a symbol, a reminder that love does not end when someone dies. A proof for millions of viewers desperate to believe that the people we lose are never truly gone. His waiting list exploded to over 300,000 people. Netflix came calling with Life After Death with Tyler Henry. The boy who had once been bullied and ignored was now being sought out by the entire world. But here is what the cameras never showed. Behind every healing moment Tyler created for others, a private battle was raging inside him. A battle with his own body, a battle with his own heart, a battle he was slowly, quietly losing. The body begins to break. At 18 years old, while most teenagers worry about college applications and first relationships, Tyler collapsed. The headache came first, sudden and blinding. Then the fall. Then the terrifying rush to the hospital, where doctors discovered something that could have killed him. An arachnoid brain cyst was blocking the flow of cerebrospinal fluid in his skull. Pressure was building. His brain was in danger. Emergency surgery saved his life, but it showed Tyler something he would never forget. The line between living and dying was thinner than anyone wanted to believe. But that was not the end. Years later, another cyst appeared. A colloid cyst near the center of his brain. Another surgery. Another recovery. Another reminder that his body was a fragile vessel, carrying an enormous gift. When he updated fans in 2025 about the second procedure, he joked, it was not his first rodeo. His body had become a battlefield, and there was no guarantee he would win every fight. Then came the lungs. In late 2019, just before a pandemic would consume the world, Tyler's lung collapsed without warning. One moment, he was fine. The next moment, pain was tearing through his chest, and air was escaping from places it should never escape. Doctors found multiple air leaks, severe damage, requiring weeks of hospitalization. Breathing, the most basic human function, became a fragile privilege. Every inhale was a reminder of how close he had come to losing everything. And through all of it, through the surgeries and hospitals and recovery rooms, Tyler kept working. He kept reading. He kept carrying the grief of thousands of strangers because he could not bring himself to stop. The gift demanded to be used, and he did not know how to say no. The love he lost. Physical pain was only half of Tyler's suffering. The emotional wounds cut even deeper, and the deepest of all involved someone named Terry. Terry was Tyler's first love, the person who understood him when the rest of the world could not. The relationship that made him feel, perhaps for the first time in his life, that he was not alone. But Tyler's gift showed him something about Terry that broke his heart long before it should have broken. He sensed what was coming. He felt the shadow of illness before any doctor spoke the words. He knew, with that same terrible certainty he had felt about his grandmother all those years ago, that Terry was going to die. And in his fear, in his desperate attempt to protect himself from grief he could not face, Tyler pulled away. He distanced himself from the person he loved most because he could not bear to watch them fade. Terry died of brain cancer, and Tyler was left carrying guilt that no reading could ever resolve. He could comfort strangers who had lost loved ones. He could deliver messages of peace to people he had never met, but he could not forgive himself for pulling away from the one person who had seen him completely. That grief haunted him in quiet moments. It visited him in dreams. It sat with him in the silence between readings, reminding him that even those who speak to the dead cannot escape the pain of losing someone they love, still standing. Today, Tyler Henry is 29 years old, and against all odds, he is still here, still fighting, still giving, still building bridges between worlds, even as his own body threatens to collapse beneath him. In May 2025, something beautiful happened. After nearly a decade together, Tyler married his longtime partner Clint Godwin at the Beverly Hills courthouse. The two had met back in 2016, when Clint reached out for a reading after seeing Tyler on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. During that first session, Tyler connected with Clint's grandfather, who had recently taken his own life. The reading was so profound, so healing, that it sparked something neither of them expected. Love. Real love. The kind that survives almost 10 years of chaos, fame, and medical emergencies. On their wedding day, Tyler posted a photo on Instagram with the words that captured everything. "Today, we are married. Life with you is an endless sleepover with my best friend. And life is just getting started. I knew when we met nearly a decade ago that you would be the one. And that conviction only grew stronger with every day. Best premonition ever. But life had other plans." Just 1 week after saying those vows, Tyler was back in a hospital bed. Doctors discovered that a colloid cyst near the center of his brain required immediate surgery. It was his second brain operation. He updated fans with his signature mix of humor and honesty, writing, "Brain surgery was a success. Great prognosis, incredible staff, and I feel so thankful to be surrounded by my family. This is not my first rodeo." He was ordered to bed rest for a month, but even that was not enough. In November 2025, the cyst returned. Swelling increased. Symptoms came back with a vengeance. Tyler's medical team made the difficult decision that a third brain surgery was necessary. His husband Clint shared the news on social media, writing that Tyler underwent his third brain operation and was recovering well. The outpouring of love from fans around the world was immediate and overwhelming. Just weeks later, in December 2025, Tyler was forced to cancel tour dates at Cache Creek Casino Resort in California. His doctors insisted he needed more time to heal. The casino released a statement confirming the cancellation was due to an unforeseen medical situation and that Tyler would be 100% okay, but needed to prioritize recovery. Through it all, Tyler's waiting list has grown to over 600,000 people. His Netflix series, Live from the Other Side, with Tyler Henry, brought his gift to an even wider audience in 2024, with live, unedited readings that proved his abilities were no trick of television editing. He has read for celebrities like the Kardashians, Megan Fox, Rob Gronkowski, Kristen Chenoweth, and countless others. He has written books, launched his own streaming platform called The Tyler Henry Collective, and headlined sold-out tours across America. In interviews, Tyler has admitted something that haunts him. He once told Netflix's Tudum that he cannot imagine living to 70 because he already feels so tired inside. "I feel old. I feel old," he said, "like on the inside, and readings make me feel older." Every session drains him. Every message he delivers takes something from him that he can never get back. And yet, he refuses to stop. Because for Tyler Henry, this was never about fame or fortune. It was about purpose. It was about being the bridge he never had as a lonely child in San Joaquin Valley. It was about making sure no one has to grieve alone the way he once did. He has survived 3 brain surgeries. He has survived collapsed lungs. He has survived the loss of his first love and the discovery that his family history was built on lies. He has been called a fraud by skeptics and a miracle by believers. He has carried the grief of hundreds of thousands of strangers while fighting battles nobody sees. And still he stands, battered, exhausted, but unbroken. The world sees Tyler Henry as a guide, a bridge between life and death, a calm presence in the chaos of grief. But behind every message, every tear, every moment of closure, lies a cost few can imagine. His story doesn't end here. The questions remain: how much can one soul carry? And when the weight becomes too much, who will be there to carry him? The truth is, Tyler's journey is far from over. The next chapter, the next crossing, the next revelation is still waiting in the shadows. And when it comes, it will change everything you thought you knew about the line between the living and the dead. Stay with the story. The deeper you go, the more you understand what it truly means to bear another's pain and the courage it takes to survive it.